I was 8 years old when the strangest birthday gift I ever received showed up on our doorstep. There wasn't a return address, just a small brown box with my name written across it in messy red marker. My mom thought it was from Grandma. Dad thought maybe one of his coworkers sent it. But when we asked everyone we knew, nobody admitted to sending it. The tag said, "From Uncle David." The problem was Uncle David had been dead for 3 years. We laughed it off. My parents said maybe Grandma found an old gift lying around. I didn't think much of it. I just tore it open like any kid would. Inside was a small stuffed bear, brown fur, button eyes, a crooked smile stitched with black thread. It looked old, like something that had been sitting in an attic for years. Around its neck was a red ribbon with tiny silver bells, and on its back a pull string. When I tugged it, a cheerful voice said, "Hi there, friend. What's your name?" I giggled. "Teddy," I said. "My name's Teddy." It didn't respond after that, just smiled at me. Finally, a toy that actually talked. That night I placed it on my bedside table, pulled the covers up to my chin, and fell asleep with that little bear staring right at me. But that night was the first time I heard it whisper my name. And that was only the beginning. The morning after my birthday, I woke up to the sound of someone calling my name. It wasn't my mom or dad. It was softer, childlike, but not mine. "Teddy." The voice came from across the room, right where the stuffed bear sat. Its head was tilted toward me, button eyes catching the early light. I told myself it must have been a dream, but as I got out of bed, the toy said it again. This time, clear as day. "Teddy, wake up." I dropped the bear. It landed on the carpet face down, but I swear I heard it laugh. I ran downstairs, told my parents what happened. Dad checked the toy for batteries. None. No compartments, no switch, just that pull string on its back. They thought it was a prank. I was grounded for making up stories, but I knew what I heard. That night I tried to sleep again. I stuffed the bear deep inside my toy chest. Then, just past midnight, I heard a small click. The sound of the chest opening. I held my breath. Footsteps, tiny ones, dragged along the wooden floor. I stared into the dark, too scared to move. The voice came again, whispering right next to my ear. "I like your room, Teddy," I screamed. Mom rushed in, flipped the light. Nothing there. The bear was back on the nightstand, sitting perfectly upright, its stitched smile wider than before. They told me it was just nightmares, that I was imagining things. But that same night I heard it humming from the hallway, a lullaby my dead uncle used to sing. That was when I realized whoever sent me that toy knew things they shouldn't have. After that night, my parents decided to check the toy themselves. They were convinced there had to be a speaker or something hidden inside. So one Saturday morning, Dad brought it to his workbench in the garage. He used a small knife to peel away the stitches on its back. And inside, beneath a layer of old stuffing, he found a tiny cassette recorder. It looked ancient. Yellowed plastic, worn labels. A cassette marked with a single word scrawled in red ink, "Teddy." He popped it into a tape player. At first there was only static. Then a voice came through. "Hi there, Teddy. It's Uncle David. Don't be scared." Mom's face went pale. She turned off the player immediately. Dad rewound it, played it again. The same message, clearer this time, followed by something else. A faint laugh. And then a whisper. "Come play with me again." I remember Mom shouting at Dad to throw it away. He agreed, or at least I thought he did. He threw the bear in the garbage bin outside. I watched him do it. That night I couldn't sleep. There was this uneasy feeling that someone was standing in the hallway. Then the sound started, faint scratching on the floorboards. I turned my head toward the door, and there it was, the bear. Covered in dirt and grass, its ribbon torn, one button eye missing but still smiling. It sat by the door, the pull string slowly retracting on its own. Then it spoke again. But this time, it wasn't Uncle David's voice. It was mine. "Hi there, friend. What's your name?" I couldn't move. It had recorded me. It had learned my voice. I screamed for my parents, but when they burst into my room, the bear was gone. The only thing left was that tiny cassette, spinning endlessly inside the player, whispering my name. And from that night on, I started hearing it, even when the tape wasn't playing. After that night, my parents did everything to make me feel safe. They took the batteries out of every toy I owned, checked the attic, the basement, even called a priest. But nothing stopped it. The voice was back. It didn't come from the toy this time. It came from inside the walls. It started small, faint whispers, like someone dragging their fingernails behind the wallpaper. Then at night, the voice would echo through the vents, soft and playful. "Teddy, I'm still here." I'd cover my ears. Sometimes I'd hear my own voice whisper back, as if the bear was replaying everything I'd ever said to it. Dad thought maybe there were rats in the wall. He tore open a section near my bed, expecting to find wires or nests. Instead, he found stuffing, clumps of brown fur, a single button eye staring back at him. He froze. Then the whisper came again, right between us. "Why did you throw me away, Teddy?" Dad dropped the drywall cutter and stumbled back. He sealed the wall with boards that same night, but the sounds didn't stop. Every night I'd hear the soft thump, thump, thump of something moving inside. Sometimes it called my name. Other times it hummed that same lullaby Uncle David used to sing. Mom said we needed to leave the house. Dad refused. He said there was a logical explanation. But I could see it in his eyes. He didn't believe that anymore. 3 days later, I woke up to find tiny handprints on the wall above my pillow. Not painted, pressed from the inside. That was the night I realized it wasn't just the toy that was haunted. It was me. After the handprints appeared, Mom packed our bags. She said we were leaving, even if Dad stayed behind. We drove to my grandmother's house 2 towns over. I thought we were finally safe. But that first night, the whisper followed us. I woke up to the sound of bells. Tiny silver bells. The same ones that used to hang around the bear's neck. They jingled softly from the foot of my bed. When I looked down, it was there, the same toy. Dirty, torn, one eye gone, but smiling that same crooked smile. I screamed so loud Grandma came running in. She saw it too. She grabbed it, threw it into the fireplace, and didn't stop until it was nothing but ash. For the first time in weeks, the house felt quiet, peaceful. Until the phone rang. Mom answered, and went pale. She put the phone on speaker. Through the static, a voice came through. It wasn't a person, it was a recording, and it was me. "Hi there, friend, what's your name?" Then came the laugh. The same hollow laugh from the bear. Then, silence. That night I dreamed I was back in my bedroom and Uncle David was sitting in the corner holding the toy. He said, "You can't burn what isn't yours, Teddy. He belongs to me now." When I woke up, there was a pile of ash on my pillow, and in the center of it a single red ribbon with silver bells, perfectly clean. I didn't tell anyone after that, because deep down, I knew the toy wasn't gone. It was waiting for something, or someone. A few weeks later, we moved into a new house. "Fresh start," Mom said. "No toys, no old memories, just us." But I could tell she didn't sleep much anymore. Neither did I. Some nights I'd wake to hear faint scratching again, like something moving under the floorboards. One night I followed the sound. It led me down to the basement. There was a small wooden chest there, covered in dust, tied shut with string. I don't know why, but I untied it. Inside were ashes, and a single new cassette. No label. Just a faint smell of smoke. I found Mom's old tape player and pressed play. Static. Then, a child's voice. My voice. "I missed you, Uncle David, can we play again?" Then came his voice. Clear, calm, cold. "Of course, Teddy. You just have to stay with me this time." The basement lights flickered. Something moved in the dark corner. A shape. Small. Familiar. The bear crawled out of the shadows. Its fur burned, mouth torn open, but it was grinning. Before I could scream, It spoke in my exact voice. "Goodbye, Mom." The tape clicked off. When my mom found me the next morning, the tape player was still spinning. The cassette had melted into the machine. The only sound left was a faint hum, a lullaby. The police said it was an accident. Electrical fire, they claimed. But Mom told me later, they never found any sign of a bear. Just a single red ribbon with silver bells, lying beside my bed. And sometimes when the wind rattles through the vents at night, I can still hear it whisper, "Hi there, friend. What's your name?"
Don't let him find me.
I was 9 years old the first night I heard the crying. It was faint at first, soft, muffled, coming from somewhere inside my closet. At first, I thought it was the wind, or maybe the pipes in the old house. But then I heard words. A girl's voice. "Please, let me out." I froze under my blanket, heart pounding. It sounded like someone was standing right behind the closet door. Not angry, not ghostly, just sad. I told my parents the next morning. They laughed it off, said I'd had a nightmare. Dad opened the closet, just toys, clothes, and dust. But even after he shut it, I could still feel something watching from the darkness inside. That night, the voice came back, closer this time. "I'm cold," she whispered. "Can you help me?" I didn't answer. I just stared at the door, afraid to blink. Then came the sound, 3 gentle knocks from the inside. Knock, knock, knock. I screamed. Mom rushed in, flipped on the light, and yanked the door open. Nothing, just my shirts swaying on their hangers. She told me it was the old house settling, but I knew better. Because when she turned off the light and closed the door again, I saw something new. A small handprint pressed on the inside of the door, tiny and made of dust. The next night I couldn't sleep. Every sound made me flinch, the creak of the floorboards, the hum of the air vent. But mostly, I was listening for her. For hours, there was nothing. Then around 2 a.m. I heard the faintest whisper. "Toby." My whole body went cold. That was my name. I hadn't told her my name. I sat up in bed staring at the closet. The door was closed, but a faint line of light glowed underneath it, as if someone was holding a flashlight inside. Then the whisper again. "Shh, don't wake them. They can't help me." I slid out of bed, bare feet silent on the wooden floor. The closer I got, the colder the air became. The light flickered under the door, like someone pacing, holding a candle. I reached for the handle, but it turned on its own. The door creaked open an inch, nothing but blackness inside. I couldn't see her, but I could feel her, standing just past the darkness. Then I heard breathing, soft, shaky, right beside my ear. "Please, don't let him find me again." I ran to my parents' room, crying and shaking. Dad searched the closet again, furious. He said I was making it up. But when he flicked on the light inside, he froze. All along the back wall and were deep scratches, like someone had clawed at the wood from the inside. He didn't say a word. He just shut the door, nailed it shut, and told me to sleep in their room that night. I thought it was over. But as I was falling asleep, a whisper came from the baby monitor on the nightstand. "Toby, why did you lock me in?" For days, everything was quiet. The closet stayed sealed. I thought it was over. Then one morning, Mom called for Dad, her voice shaking. I came downstairs and saw it. Long, thin scratches across the hallway wall. Not just scratches, but letters spelling out my name, Toby. Dad tried to laugh it off, saying maybe I did it in my sleep, but Mom wasn't buying it. Her eyes kept darting toward my bedroom, toward the closet we'd nailed shut. That night, I heard them arguing. Mom swore she heard footsteps in my room. Dad insisted it was just the house settling, but then he went upstairs to prove it. A minute later, he called her name, his voice filled with fear. I followed them into my room. The closet door was still nailed shut, but the nails were bent outward like something had been pushing from inside. and on the floor was a handprint in a small pile of dust. "We're moving," Dad said. But it was already too late. The lock on the closet door melted, so Dad nailed it shut. But that night I heard tapping from behind the wall. "Help me," a whisper echoed. I tore at the wallpaper and found it, a mirror built into the wall. Wiping away the grime, I saw her, a girl, in a decaying version of my room. "Don't let him in," she pleaded, her eyes wide with terror. Before she could say who, a tall, shadowy figure writhed behind her. "Toby, he's in the walls," she screamed, just as the mirror shattered. Dad burst in, his face pale. "She's not haunting you," he said. "She's warning you." That night, the closet door creaked open again. The girl stepped out, but her sorrowful eyes weren't on us. "It's not me you should fear," she whispered. Then, the wall exploded. A twisted creature of shadow crawled out, its voice my name. "Toby." And then I remembered. This wasn't the first time. I had lived in this house before, and I had been the one who locked her in. When I was 7, my mother sang me to sleep every night. Her lullaby was the same, soft and sweet, a song that made even the shadows feel safe. But one night, after she turned off the light, I heard her voice again. Only this time it came from under my bed. It started as a hum, muffled and slow. Then words formed. "Sleep, my child, the night is near. Close your eyes. No one will hear." I froze. It was her voice, but wrong. Too deep. Too slow. I called for Mom. She rushed in, turned on the light, looked under my bed. Nothing. She smiled, said I must have dreamed it. But when the lights went out again, the humming started right back. And then a whisper followed. "Eli." Something was under there, and it knew my name. The next morning I told my parents everything. Dad laughed. Mom looked worried but said, "It's just your imagination." That night I decided to prove them wrong. I placed my flashlight under the bed before sleeping. If something moved, I'd see it. Around midnight I heard it again, that soft humming, then the sound of tiny fingers tapping on the wooden floor. I leaned over the side of the bed, trying to peek under. Suddenly my flashlight flickered on, by itself. And in that split-second glow I saw a small hand, pale, grayish, press flat against the underside of my mattress. I screamed. Dad ran in, lifted the bed. Nothing there. Only the flashlight, lying on its side, still warm. He told me to stop scaring myself. But later that night, when the house went quiet again, I felt pressure on the mattress, like someone slowly crawling out from beneath me. I didn't move, didn't breathe, until I heard the lullaby again, this time right beside my ear. I stopped sleeping in my room after that. Mom said I could stay in hers. For the first time in days, I felt safe. But on the third night I woke up and realized something strange. Mom was gone. The bed beside me was empty, but her lullaby was playing faintly through the walls. Not from under the bed this time, from my room down the hall. I followed the sound, barefoot, holding my stuffed rabbit tight. When I opened my door, the light from the hallway spilled across the floor, and I saw her, my mom, sitting on the edge of my bed, her back turned to me. She was humming the lullaby, but something about her wasn't right. Her head tilted too far to one side. Her hair hung over her face. "Mom?" I whispered. The humming stopped. She turned, and the face that looked back at me wasn't hers. It was pale, eyeless, a mouth too wide, smiling. It whispered in my mother's voice, "Go back to sleep, Eli." I don't remember screaming. I only remember Dad grabbing me, dragging me out of the room as I kicked and cried. He looked around, confused. There was no one in there. No sign of anyone sitting on the bed. But I knew what I saw. And when I looked back at the mattress, I saw a dent. as if someone was still sitting there, invisible. That night, Dad nailed my bedroom door shut. He said it was for my safety. But I still heard the lullaby, through the walls, through the floor. Always the same verse sung softly, as if to remind me. Sleep, my child, the night is near. Close your eyes. No one will hear. The next morning, Dad looked pale. He told me we were leaving the house, but before we could pack, we found Mom's music box, the one that played that same tune, sitting in the middle of my bed, still playing. When we moved out, Dad refused to take anything from that house, but I couldn't stop thinking about it, about the voice that knew my name, about how it sounded like her, my mom, even though it wasn't. Years later, when I was 16, I went back. The house was abandoned, windows boarded up. But the moment I stepped inside, I heard it again. That same lullaby, faint, beneath the floorboards. I followed it to my old room. The bed was gone, but the wooden floor still had scratches, like fingernails dragging upward. I knelt down and pressed my ear to the floor. The song was louder now, and then a whisper. Eli, you left me here. I pulled back a loose board, shining my flashlight into the dark. Beneath it was a small crawl space, and inside, a pile of bones, tiny, fragile, and beside them, a cracked music box still playing that lullaby. I called the police. They said the remains belonged to a little girl, about 6 years old. She'd gone missing years before we moved in. Her name was Elise. Maybe that's why the voice knew mine. Maybe that's why it called out, because she thought I was her. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing the tune, even though I was miles away from that house. When I looked in the mirror, I saw movement behind me, a shadow beneath my bed, a small shape crawling upward. Then the voice whispered again, soft and broken. Sleep, my child. The night is near. Close your eyes. I'm still here. The mirror cracked. The music stopped. And from beneath my bed a hand reached out, small, gray, familiar, and pulled me down into the dark.